Hello guys, how are you today? I'm back and welcome back to my channel. So today is a continuation of my story, Patricia, your name is written in the stars, and this time the episode is about my grandmother's rituals with her friends. Actually, there are two parts here, the ritual of the sweet potato and the ritual about using saliva to heal a wound. In the olden times, people did some rituals to bring together the people in the community, and they believe that performing rituals would bring them closer to the divine, to the spirits. That's their way of communicating to the spirits, and they believe that these spirits would help them or give them a favor. Okay, so without much ado, I will give you the story of my grandmother's rituals. So have fun and enjoy. Thank you very much. Did I really make the sweet potatoes turn out bad? This is something that had bothered me as a child for many years. For me, honesty and flattery were two different words. I noticed that old people liked to flatter each other, and they even did that during their rituals. My grandfather had a farm, and it was the first time to harvest the sweet potatoes. My grandmother held a ritual in the house and invited her special friends, whom she considered elite. They were getting ready for the ritual, and I was just in the corner of the dining area watching them. Once the sweet potatoes were cooked, my grandmother arranged them in a nice silver platter, and they started something like a Thanksgiving prayer. Later on, each one would pick one sweet potato, bite it with gusto, and they would say loudly, Mmm, it is very sweet and very nice texture. In Boholano dialect, that is labu. So everyone agreed to each other that it's really sweet and labu. And later on, they had a lively conversations about sweet potatoes and other root crops. One of the old women noticed me in the corner and she said, "Oh, why don't we let your granddaughter taste too?" My grandmother was a bit hesitant and faked a smile and said, "Okay." So I was excited and I grabbed one potato, and the moment it was inside my mouth, I made sure that everyone could see the expression of my face. And I said, "Oh, it's awful. You said it's sweet. It's not." My grandmother's friends made a sign of the cross and said, "Jesus, please forgive." Now, when her guest left, my grandmother pinched my ear and said, "Did you understand what you did? You cursed all the sweet potatoes at the farm. Those sweet potatoes will taste bad because of you. The sweet potatoes in the farm will last for many months. My grandfather would harvest the sweet potatoes by baskets, only if we craved to eat some sweet potatoes." From that day on, every time there was a bad potato in the basket, my grandmother would give me an angry look, blaming me for causing the sweet potato to turn out bad. My grandmother strongly believed in rituals. One terrible incident always reminds me of my late brother, Kadoy. I was in grade 2 at the time. I got severely wounded on my right foot that I needed to miss school for almost 2 months towards the end of the school year. It happened when my little brother, with my mother, came to my grandparents' house. I heard a cute cry of a child asking for help. When I opened the door, I realized it was my little brother, Kadoy. I was very happy to see him, and I jumped for joy. His small feet could not reach the next steps of the concrete stairs, and so he was crying for help. And I excitedly ran downstairs to help him when suddenly I felt sudden pain and numbness of my right foot. Then I saw blood dripping. A lot of blood splattered across the concrete stairways. My foot was bleeding profusely. I couldn't organize my brain what happened. My little brother stopped crying. He was staring at the blood. Someone put an empty Coke bottle on the edge of the terrace, just above the concrete stairs, and it fell right there with the sharp edges facing upward. While I was running towards my brother, I accidentally stepped on the sharp edges of the broken bottle. I turned pale. My mother screamed. I saw a part of my right foot was dangling. My grandmother remained calm. She seized a shirt and ripped it to use as a bandage for my wound. I couldn't believe she did not think of bringing me to the hospital. Instead, she hired an old man to look at my wound, for she strongly believed in tuthu tuthu. That's a dialect for a ritual using saliva. Yuck! The old man inspected my wound and shook his head. His face looked worried, and he looked up the ceiling, closed his eyes, and murmured something. Then he grabbed my foot and spat on it several times and smoothed the saliva all over my foot. He motioned my grandmother to come closer to him, and he said, "Find these plants, pound them, and mix it with this oil." Worse, the oil smelled so bad. Grandmother paid him some money and the old man left. My grandmother had been pounding herbs every day, which she collected from among the bushes, and mixed it with bad-smelling dark-colored oil. It took almost 2 months for my wound to heal, that I had to skip school until the end of the school year. If I recall that incident, I am thinking maybe my wound would have been healed in just a short time if only my grandmother would have brought me to the hospital. Can you imagine missing classes for 2 months? Until now, the scar on my foot is still visible, and it reminds me of our youngest brother, Kadoy. I love you, Kadoy. I knew God sent the angels to lead you to heaven at the time of your death. So this is the scar on my foot, and until now, it's still visible. If I see it, I cry sometimes because I remember my brother, Kadoy. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your time. I hope you had a great time listening to my story. And actually, until now, if I eat sweet potato, I remember my grandmother, and also I remember my brother when I see my scar on my foot. So thank you. And I am inviting you to listen to the next part of the story. It's about a coronation night. Okay, I think that's also very interesting. And thank you for your support, and please subscribe so you can follow my story. All right, so you have a great time, and I'll see you soon. Bye.